You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park.
WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
We have devils in the courtroom. Devils in the courtroom. We have devils in the courtroom wearing black robes. Devils with briefcases lined to their nose. Some devils have a gavel, they hit real hard. Some devils just there punching A-type card. While the probate courts are stealing your money, they're scheming and they're plotting. So much corruption going on inside. The judiciary abuse can't hide. We have devils in the courtroom wearing black robes. Devils with briefcases lined to their nose. Some devils have a gavel, they hit real hard. Some devils just there punching A-type hard. We have devils in the courtroom, judiciary abuse. Devils in the courtroom, probate courts. We have devils in the courtroom stealing your money. Devils in the courtroom and they're plotting. We have devils in the courtroom, so much corruption. Devils in the courtroom, devils in the courtroom.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Devil in the Courtroom, Silent Torture, Trafficking Through Guardianship. What would you do if a loved one was forced into isolation simply so his or her money could be stolen? Senior independent adults are being forced into isolation all around this country while their assets are pillaged. It happens more than you realize. There are several states that are considered hotspots, and Michigan, especially the Metro Detroit area, is considered as such. What does that mean? It's organized crime, sanctioned by the court, full of collusion and corruption. I want to introduce to you another victim of silent torture, trafficking through guardianship. What's happening? What's happening, Detroit? You're listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie, 88.1 FM. If you're in the Detroit area, 107.3 WVIE in the Virgin Islands, and everyone that's on the Facebook Live and RadioWeCanSee.com. You're listening in from all around the country, all around the world. I want to say hello to my bonus son in Africa, who always tunes into the show. Love you, bonus son. You have a wonderful day, and thank you for tuning in. You know, this is a very hard topic for me to talk about. I went to go visit my mom today, and my mom is aging. This was the first time I saw my mom on a cane. I had never seen her with a cane, and my mom is very stubborn like I am and can do everything on her own and leave me the hell alone, basically, and stay out of my business type. So it's very hard to get information from my mom, but to see her come to the door on the cane when I was delivering her food was very striking. And I left there to come to the show, and all I could think about is I'm hoping that all of the information my mother gave me is accurate, and I'm hoping that all my mother's affairs are in order, because if not, the light at the end of the tunnel could be a train, just like the train that came through in the life of Nancy Collins and many other people who have been victims to the probate court scandal. Each and every time I do this show, it's just heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching for someone like me who has sound morals and values to look at such immoral conduct that is being upheld by the law, because it's counterintuitive to think that a place that you go for justice is a place where you go where there's injustice. A place where you go to have your case decided is a case where you're going to fight against them to keep them from pillaging all of your assets and destroying you and putting your relatives in isolation. And when you stand up to these individuals, then they try to destroy you, destroy your character, silence your voice, prohibit you from talking in the courtroom, and sometimes sitting in the courtroom. I had my guest last week, Victoria, to say she went in the courtroom in Oakland County, and he put her ass out. Like, get out. I was just done. Like, no, I reiterated, like, no, he just asked you to be quiet. She was like, no, he put me out. I think that's despicable. So here I am now to bring another case of probate court corruption to you this evening, and we're going to talk about the story of Nancy Collins with her daughter Jane Collins. How you doing, Jane?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show this evening to share your story. Because this is a story where the American dream turns into a nightmare. You know, and when I say that, I can remember back in the day when my grandparents were alive, all they wanted was a car, a house, and a Sears Roebuck credit card. And they felt like they arrived. Like, these were the things that made them happy. These are the things that they felt like they had stability with. And then they started to build their wealth from there, wealth that they would want to pass down to their family, grandkids, sons, daughters, or whatever. But yet instead, in your case, something different happened. But before I get into the story, I do want to pay homage to your mother, because your mother has transitioned. I did not get to know her as a person, but from reading her story, my heart went out to her. To see that clip where she said, I don't want this. I don't want anybody else over me. That just struck me. But the person that she did want over her was you, her daughter. And that says a whole lot. I have been in your shoes somewhat, being the chosen one to be over someone's assets and to be over their health and their wealth are large shoes to fill. And so I can understand a little bit about the position that you find yourself in, because I've been in it before. Let's talk a little bit about what happened, because your story is not that unique from the others that I have read about. And I want the audience to pay attention to the consistencies in these stories if you tune in every third Monday of the month to hear them, because there is something consistent going on in Oakland County. And it's been going on long enough where something should have been done about it, and it has not been done. So, Jane, let's talk a little bit about your mom. Your mom got sick, correct? And she wanted you to come and take care of her. Specifically, it was stated that she wanted you to come and take care of her. You left your home in California to come to Michigan.
Colorado.
Colorado, thank you. Colorado to come to Michigan to take care of your mom per her request. When you got here,
I did.
what happened?
Well, we had made, because I had been coming there off and on for several years, for, anywhere from a year at a time. I was there for 11 months in 2010, 2011, after she'd been through a year of chemotherapy, and my dad was taking care of her. I came for a year to take care of her then, and then I was in and out for 6 months at a time over the next previous winters when I could. And then in the fall of 2015, after she'd been taken care of by, caregivers that I had hired in the summertime for 6 months at a time, then she asked me if I would just come back permanently for the duration, because she really was tired of being taken care of by strangers. And I was working as a caregiver for a couple seniors here, and she wanted me to come there and take care of her, and kept asking me if I would, because she knew that I had no interest in living in Michigan, but she really, when you're at the end, coming to the end of your life, having memory issues, you just want your child to take care of you and to stay with you in your home. So I quit my jobs here and drove there November of 2015, and decided I was just going to stay until it was over, until she passed. And I had no idea what I was going to be faced with at all.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't have any idea that your mother's assets would be pillaged and people would be stealing from her. The part that broke my heart with your mother's story, the court documents that were filed that stated you should get paid $3,500 a month to do that. Now, let's be clear. It wasn't like she was just trying to get paid for taking care of her mother. She left her home, her job, and everything to come here to take care of her mother. So that was something her mother wanted her to have for taking care of her. It was put into the court documents, I'm sure, to keep any bullshit from happening, because a lot of stuff can happen with family members and stuff like that. So it was put in writing. It was put in a court document that she was supposed to get this $3,500 a month for taking care of her mother, and you never got a dime. That is reprehensible. And the part that floors me the most is when these cases get into the courtroom, the more time they start doing delays and all of these other things. Your mother's welfare and best interest is in their hands, but they can delay this case and delay this case and delay this case. In the meantime, her health is declining. The money is constantly being spent and nothing's happening in her favor the way that it should. Have you been paid anything to this date?
I was paid very sporadically for the first 2 years that I was there. Once this person was appointed by the judge as a co-guardian, but he was handed over all of my mother's money. Everything that she owned, everything became his responsibility. And we were completely left in the dark with what he was doing and, and he was allowed to pay himself, as much as he wanted and or whatever he wanted. And there was a court order that I was to continue to be paid as per my mother's and my agreement that if I came from Colorado to take care of her full time, that I was to be paid a salary. And after 2 years, after 1 year of that, actually, this co-guardian, who's a well-known ex-public administrator in the state of Michigan, very well known. The Attorney General fired him along with all the rest of the Oakland County public administrators a year ago, or it was 2 years ago, August. He had a court. He went to court and he started complaining that my mother's money was running out, and that I should continue on with my full-time hours, but that my wages should get slashed from $3,500 a month to $1,500 a month.
Wow. You know, what floors me about this is these judges and lawyers and guardians and conservators make their living performing, knowing full damn well, and I'm going to say performing. And the more time they spend pretending to argue in court about the welfare and what's in the best interest of your mother in this case, the more their bank accounts swell.
You got that right.
So let's Marquise, take us to that WXYZ interview, please. This is a little bit more about Nancy Collins and Jane's journey with a few other people from Oakland County.
The 7 investigators had been digging into the guardianship system in Metro Detroit.
And last night we showed you how a local woman says because of a guardian, she can't make any medical or financial decisions for her aging parents.
New tonight, several families have come forward. 7 investigator Heather Catallo shares their warnings for all families.
This is not a system designed to help. This is prison.
To be able to know that you can go home, but they can't. And they're crying out to you. Please take me home with you.
They took her dignity from her. They took everything from her. She's completely powerless.
All of these people say guardians and conservators appointed by judges have devastated their families.
Do any of you feel like you can get a fair shake in court?
No.
Everybody has the same response, which is, how can this happen in America?
Jane Collins says she's been her mom's primary caregiver ever since Nancy Collins was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2009.
She has 5 children she did not want to be taken care of by a stranger.
The Collins siblings have been bitterly fighting for some time about who should care for their mom and about who should have access to mom's money. That infighting is what allegedly prompted an attorney to petition the court to get a professional guardian and conservator appointed.
In Michigan, at least 33,478 adults have guardians. That means a judge has decided all of those people are legally incapacitated, and a guardian is making all of their decisions for them, including medical decisions. And if the guardian is also appointed as a conservator, that means they also control all of your cash.
Jane says at 84, her mom does have memory issues, but Jane does not believe her mother should be considered incapacitated, and neither does Nancy.
I don't like it. It's my world. I want to be in charge.
Oakland County Probate Judge Daniel O'Brien appointed a professional guardian and conservator for Nancy Collins, attorney Thomas Brennan Frazier. Jane Collins is co-guardian, so she can help with Nancy's health care, but she says she has zero say over Nancy's finances.
She was not given any money from mid-April until after Labor Day weekend.
Take a look at the accounting for just 1 year of the guardianship. Frazier billed for more than $17,000 in legal fees.
Their charges, it's a complete conflict of interest because they pay themselves. They check into no one.
Here's a closer look at some of the costs. Frazier charges $245 an hour for legal work. Every time a staffer leaves a voicemail, it costs Nancy Collins $10. Frazier charged Collins $49 to send a fax to her oncologist. His staff billed $120 to complete 3 mail forwarding requests.
So we have several families that are telling us that you bill an awful lot of money but don't do very much. What is your response to that?
And that's just not true. My bills are my bills. But
when we tried to ask Frazier about his business practices, this attorney referred us to his lawyer.
Do you feel like there should be more oversight of guardians and conservators?
Yes. They can say and do whatever they want, and they have people who will back them up.
A group called Americans Against Abusive Probate Guardianship is trying to change the federal law to better protect vulnerable people.
The bottom line is, when you walk into that courtroom, the officers of the court, those who are in there every day, every week in front of that judge, their goal is to get you into a guardianship, because that's how they get paid.
It's so wrong to take away senior citizens' rights. They need to be protected, not exploited.
The Elder Abuse and Protection Act has now passed the U.S. House and Senate, and it's waiting for the president's signature. It would give the Department of Justice more power and more resources to investigate cases like these. I'm Heather Catallo, 7 Action News.
Heather has been staying on top of this, of course. We did reach out to some of the other Collins siblings for comment about
that story. Bothered me for a couple of reasons. The number one reason is to hear your mother say that she didn't want it. She sounded like she was of sound mind. Memory issue is different than sound mind, right? Your mother sound strong, sound mind, like she knew what the hell she was talking about, right? She did not want it, and she said that. That bothered me. The next thing that bothered me is that Frazier sat up there and said, after all these fees he's charged, he's going to say, my bills are my bills. Hell, they damn bills are they bills too. You know, so what are you talking about? My bills are my bills. You're not explaining why your bill's so damn high. $245 per hour to read some legal paperwork. $10 if you call and leave a voicemail. You didn't even do no work. He probably didn't even call his girl Friday or assistant or whatever is the person that called. You didn't even call. And then the fax and paperwork over to an oncologist, all this money. These fees are astronomical, and they need to be set. Number one, you shouldn't be able to charge whatever you want to charge whenever you get ready. How often? They need to be set at a monthly cap, regardless of income, regardless of total assets. These fees need to be capped. And number two is, if you have a family member that is of sound mind and that person who is in guardianship says that they want their child or whomever it is to be guardian over them, who in the hell are these people to tell her that she can't have her daughter take care of her? You know why? Because their pockets are constantly swelling every dollar that they take, and they're in cahoots with one another. And the judge can do this without a second thought because he's untouchable. He cannot be sued because of judicial immunity, so he can basically do what the hell he wants. And anyone who has the temerity to speak up for themselves in this courtroom or anywhere else where they are gets their character assassinated and even thrown in jail for speaking up for themselves and their family members and their life savings and their assets. Folks, if you have not heard these stories before, I'm telling you, there are hundreds. When you look at this number and it says 33,478 cases of this is in the state of Michigan, we have not even scratched the surface with the story of Nancy Collins at all. I could probably go week after week after week with story after story after story. This game is rigged. It's unwinnable except by the court and the players that are in the court. There is no way in hell that a family can win when going up against probate court. They cannot. not. These elderly people and these families are stripped of their assets. Some of these elderly people are people in guardianship. They're over-medicated and then taken away from their family. I've read stories and heard stories of where these people don't even know where their relatives are, while their life savings is being drained. It's ridiculous and it's outrageous, and I'm outraged. And I'm sure you are too, Jane. But let me woo-sigh for a minute. I need a little wine or something. I'm getting all gangster, but I'm serious because it pisses me off. It's ridiculous. And it's hard for me to contain myself. And then as an outsider looking in who's never had to deal with this, I can only imagine what you go through every day. But sister, I'm happy that you're fighting. And I'm glad to use this platform and my voice to help these stories get out. And there are hundreds of them. There are so many more across the country. People have inboxed me saying, we are so happy that you are talking about this, because it's gone on too long and we need our stories to be told. Why, you know, Jane, as I think about this, it's almost like these cases would be better off in a jury trial or something, instead of the judge just having sole power to decide what's going to happen. It would be better to be put in a jury trial, even though that's ridiculous also, because you shouldn't have to do any of that if a person has sound mind enough to say what they want, when they want, and who they want to carry this out. None of this should even be necessary. But I'm saying, wow, the judge gets the power to just do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whomever they want, how often they want, and nobody's saying nothing, while their pockets are just constantly being filled with your money.
You've got that right. And the problem is that there is no supervising body or panel that is supervising what is going on in these courtrooms. And when you do, there is nowhere to go to complain, to make complaints, to have somebody or panel of people go back and watch the court video, and to go back and read the transcripts. There's nowhere to go. No one has that job. So these judges know that they are not being monitored by anyone. And the attorneys themselves work with these judges to have victims funneled to them, so that they have, each one of these fired public administrators has over 500 wards that they are lording over, that they have their bank accounts, and it's a free-for-all, a complete free-for-all. And we talked to the new Attorney General when she was campaigning about this. She invited 3 of us to come and talk to her about what we were experiencing in probate court in Oakland County. And she appeared to be horrified with our stories of what we were dealing with. And she actually said to us, oh my God, that could happen to my parents, right? Because she and her sister are not on good terms. And that's how they get their foot in the door. You know, somebody goes out looking for a guardian because they don't feel like they're going to be heard, or they want this met over what their parent wants, that, you know, or whatever the situation. And we really had high hopes that the new Attorney General, Dana Nessel, seemed to be very concerned about this whole racketeering operation. And then once she got in, she invited us with an investigative reporter who had come from Chicago to spend 8 months in court, going through all the files, gathering all kinds, thousands of cases, thousands of files of evidence about this racketeering and elder abuse. and elder exploitation. And we went to a 4-hour meeting at the Attorney General's office and shared with them. 3 of us victims went with our stories, and then hundreds of files of proof of all kinds of exploitation by all of these fired Oakland County public administrators, fired by the Attorney General, okay? And after 4 hours of presenting all this evidence, as far as we know, nothing's ever been done. Oh, except for an elder abuse task force was set up, and you know, it's a bunch of, you know, agencies and whatever. You know, I was going to look up some of these people and you know, talk to them directly, but it's all like businesses and agencies, and you know, it's just another distraction so that it looks like they care. They're trying to make it look like they're going to address it, but they've got all these victims who have shown up at all these meetings that she held across the entire state, her listening tour that went across the entire state of Michigan. And the place we had members at every single one of these stops on this listening tour, and the meetings were stacked with people shoulder to shoulder wanting to talk about their stories involving abusive guardians, and she did not want to hear about it at all.
You know, I saw a brief clip. I believe there was a tour in Milford, and she, meaning Dana Nessel, looked mortified when Victoria Casey was throwing those facts at her. You would have thought she was like, put your back up against the wall and I'm gonna throw these steak knives at your ass and make sure I don't hit you. You know, that's the kind of look that she had on her face. But Victoria was hitting her back to back with those facts, and she could not answer. So whoever that girl was, I don't know if it was her chief of staff or whatever, would just always jump up and have something to say. That it was just a bunch of double talk. I didn't even watch it all the way through until the end, because none of Victoria's questions were being answered. Not one. Totally diverted. And you know, families are excoriated and vilified, while these court insiders, their word is almost like Bible. Like it's biblical facts that's coming out of their damn mouth, and everybody else is vilified and not even really heard.
Those, I mean, and she has never made a statement to explain why she fired the last of the last 4 of the 6 Oakland County public administrators. Schuette fired 2 of them. She fired the other 4, and there's never been a statement of why they were fired from their positions. Never.
They shouldn't even be able to practice law. Their law license should have been pulled. If you can take Kwame's, you can take theirs. You should have pulled their damn law license. Extortion is extortion is extortion, and their law license should have been pulled.
Right. Well, what they should do, what she should have done is, I mean, she fired them all as public administrators, so she knows they're not on the up and up. Otherwise, why did she fire them? We don't know, because she didn't bother to show any transparency and tell the citizens of Michigan why she was firing these people. And yet, why are they allowed to go on ripping off and abusing over 500 vulnerable, unnecessary guardianships for each one of them? And with all these people showing up, and the 4-hour meeting we had with piles of evidence of kidnapping, Medicaid fraud, real estate fraud, elder abuse, you name it, hundreds, if not thousands of files, and they haven't started one investigation. But guess what? They don't mind investigating the Catholic Church. They're okay with that. They just don't want to investigate fired public administrators who have been complained about by thousands of people who have been victimized by these people that they're aware of. They refuse to investigate them, and judges.
Okay, so there's $17,000 in the fees that this guy charged your family.
Oh, that's nothing. I just got a bill for this past year for $70,000. And that's the year my mother's not even here. I just got it.
70,000.
That's been the 2020 so far. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure they're going to be billing more before the end of the year. 70,000 so far this year.
What the hell he doing? Okay, now first the allegations were he was taking care of your mom and doing all of this stuff, but your mom has transitioned. What the hell he doing?
My mom never saw him. He came over to the house 1 or 2 times, and part of the guardianship rules of behavior is that they are required to see their wards quarterly. That's 4 times a year. Frazier never saw my mother during for the 3 years, the last 3 years of her life.
I'm just baffled though. $70,000 and your mom has transitioned. It should be.
Well, that's for. Keep in mind that's for Frazier, and then he brings his attorney in, and then he bills too. So it's double billing on my mom's estate, and she died last November. But they're allowed to just keep on billing.
Whoa.
And yet I sit here, I was her caregiver for 4 years, and the last 2 years.
We're kind of losing you a little bit, Jane. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, my internet. Yeah.
Okay. So go back to the last 2 years, you said? The last few years?
Maybe on the break I'll move around and see if I can find a better connection.
Okay, so let's go to that then, Marquise. How about if we go to break? You've been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie, and we are talking about the devil in the courtroom. Probate court corruption. Michigan is a hot spot, and Oakland County is even hotter. So we've been talking to Jane Collins, the daughter of Nancy Collins, and we will be right back after this break. What's happening? This is Black Coffee, host of the Black Coffee No Sugar No Cream radio broadcast, and I'm here to talk to you about TLC's Body Bling. You see, Tara, she's just a girl trying to change the world $5 at a time with her paparazzi jewelry. Paparazzi jewelry is fashionable, lead-free, and most of all, ladies, $5. Most pieces are just $5. And if you like them, you can take them home. If you love them, you can host a party. And if you want it all, you can join her team. So get in touch with Tara Thomas of TLC's Body Bling at 931-626-5778 or visit her website at www.tlcsbodybling.com. Okay, you are listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, and this is the third part of the series, Devil in the Courtroom. We're talking about probate court corruption, not around the nation, right here in Michigan, in Oakland County. We have with us Jane Collins, who is the daughter of Nancy Collins. So before the break, we were talking about this $70,000 bill that you received, although your mother has transitioned. I don't know what the hell they billing for. They talking about deceased people voting. This takes the cake. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it.
Well, considering that against the court order, I was ordered to be paid a salary. Are you there?
Yes. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm hoping this is a better connection in a different room, but I am still waiting to be paid as per court order for the caregiving services that my mother hired me for, that we had an agreement. I would be paid $3,500 a month. And there is a court order that I was to be paid this salary. And this fired ex-public administrator, co-guardian conservator, Thomas Frazier, decided he was just going to ignore the court order, and he just wasn't going to pay me the salary that I was ordered to be paid. And he just stopped paying me. And when I emailed his office over and over saying, where is my paycheck? He just didn't respond, ever.
And it was allowed.
So I am owed almost 2 years of not just a normal 40-hour, 50-hour work week that my mother and I agreed to. I was put into a 24/7 caregiving situation with zero pay because he refused to pay me the court-ordered salary.
Oh yeah,
So
I saw
now
the court document. You forwarded the court document to me, and I read
Yeah.
it plain as day.
But apparently this attorney gets to ignore court orders and get away with it.
Yeah, and order your mom to move out of her house. Also,
Well, she did not move out of her house. He kept threatening that she was going to be taken out of her house against her will, even though I was there taking care of her 24/7. And but he did stop paying me, which is directly breaking a court order. But he didn't seem to be concerned about that, and I wonder why.
well, because his boy is sitting on the bench, and he knows that nothing is going to be done, and then the judge can't be sued or whatever because he's indemnified. So it's just a perfect crime. This is the perfect crime right here going on right in front of our face, and it should be an embarrassment to our legal system and the Constitution and the Supreme Court, among a lot of other things that I can add, but I'm going to stay focused on this topic. It is an embarrassment to sit up here and even have this conversation of how wrong these people are being done. And man, I thought I had seen it mostly everything when it comes to wrongful convictions and some of the things that have happened to many blacks in America. This is just as bad.
Well, it's
And
called
nobody's talking about it.
It's called racketeering, but it's unusual that you have a racketeering outfit that's been going on for around 30 years, and it's actually being run out of a probate court. A racketeering. It's like dealing with the mafia, but they're running a courtroom, and nobody in any powerful positions in the state of Michigan wants to deal with it, including the Attorney General.
Well, it's a shame, but I do believe you, and I understand why. They're all in cahoots, and politics are full of politricks, and this is one of them. Right? This is one of them. And so it's time to hold some people accountable. The question is, who is going to stand up and do their jobs? Who is going to be the first person that can be held accountable for racketeering and this crime. Firing Frazier and whoever else was fired with him. So what? If he's still doing it, he got fired, but he's still billing your mama estate, and she transitioned. So what did firing him do? Nothing. His pockets are still swelling, and he's still doing his thing.
All that did was cut the Attorney General's ties to this ring of criminals, because they were getting so many complaints from the citizenry that they figured, hey, we'll cut our ties, we'll fire them as public administrators, but we'll let them go on their merry way to continue victimizing and abusing senior citizens all over Michigan. I mean, these were Oakland County public administrators. So they lost their positions, but basically the AG just let them continue on using and abusing and exploiting, and then does not want to hear about it, does not want to know, does not want to investigate. And so she is not doing her job. And so really the what we really need to do is go to the governor and present it to the governor that the Attorney General is not doing her job, and put it in the lap of the governor.
You know, I'm just surprised that, you know, Channel 7 had this story with Heather Cataldo, and I'm surprised that they dropped it. But not really, you know, because all it takes is a phone call from some high-ranking official and say, hey, shut it down now, you know, or whatever, and then they can stop reporting or whatever. But I just feel like somebody, whether it's a senator, a congressperson, somebody, because this is happening nationwide. When I tell you that someone from Missouri, they have a probate court corruption type coalition going on there. Miss Benedito, I never met her in person, but she follows these stories. It is happening all around the country, and nothing is being done. Nothing.
They're all covering for each other and trying to keep the lid on it, because it's such a huge racketeering ring, you know, that nobody wants to deal with it. And so, you know, the innocent citizens are being targeted for abuse, while all the people that are in a position to do something look the other way and totally ignore it and don't want to deal with it at all.
Yeah,
Rick Black will tell you.
It's sort of one of them things. No one wants to speak up. They don't want to lose their job, you know, or whatever. They don't want to lose their position. So these court insiders, who appoints them? The judges are elected, I know that, but then the judge gets to appoint people like Frazier. How did Frazier get in this position?
You know, I really don't know, other than, you know, they all worked at the same law firms. It's very, very incestuous, that whole group. If you look at all the probate judges' backgrounds, they all came from the same law firms, and they all trained with each other and worked with each other. So they've created a huge web where they're all connected, and the judges are connected too. And so that's how they have managed to get basically an entire racketeering outfit together. And they only hire other people that are involved, you know, and that want to be involved, and so that they can all profit.
Yeah. You know, I just don't understand why it has not been stopped. I see here in 2005, Frazier was appointed by the Attorney General, Mike Cox, who was the AG at the time. So he was
a public administrator.
Okay.
Yeah. Now they only deal with dead people's estates. So that has nothing to do with being appointed guardians. But those were the positions that they held And then when they were getting so many complaints, then the Schutte fired 2 of them, and then Nessel fired the other 4 of them. But it's never been, it's never been discussed or, told to the public why they were all fired. But they've been allowed to continue on, victimizing and exploiting and abusing mostly senior citizens, but any vulnerable person they can get their hands on, especially if they own a house
and have assets. Yeah. If they have assets that can be liquidated, then that's the prime candidate for them. It's very sad. What would justice look like for you?
Well, it would be really, really great if the Attorney General stood up to these people, did her job, and started investigating all these people that used to work for her and that she fired, and start the investigations. There's allegedly an elder financial fraud unit in the Attorney General's office that I made a complaint to. And he basically took 3 months, called me up, asked me the story, looked through my file, made a few phone calls, and then sent me a letter saying, well, we don't really see any proof of any criminal behavior. And I said, well, you have to start with a forensic accounting when you're looking for financial fraud. That's step number 1. Do I need to explain that to a alleged financial fraud investigator? I need to explain that you have to start with a forensic accountant so that they can track every penny of what these people had their hands on and where it went? And he bailed out so fast, sending me a letter basically saying, case closed unless the burden's on me to show him that there's criminal behavior, when I don't have any, I'm not a paid employee. I'm not getting paid by the taxpayers. I'm not a financial fraud expert, and I'm certainly not getting paid for anything. So why would the burden fall on me to do his job?
Well, see, that goes right along with my next point as we prepare to close. This cannot be fixed from the inside out. Legislation, they can create all the task force and all the crime bills and everything they want. This almost needs like the feds, a federal level investigation. No one in the state of Michigan, Nessel.
Or the Inspector General. The Inspector General is supposed to focus on corruption.
In the state of Michigan?
In every state.
Okay. Well, he's not focused. Stevie Wonder can see that. He's not focused. So he or she, whoever holds that position, I think it needs to be more like a federal investigation. But I have heard also that the FBI in Detroit was approached with this case, and it's an insider in there also. So it was kind of brushed up under the rug. So I don't know what it's going to take to fix it, but I definitely know that it cannot be reformed from the inside out, because the insiders are the corrupt ones. So the reform is going to take place, and it's really not hard for those of you who pick this story up or who watch it on YouTube later or who's starting to follow Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream. It's really not hard. Just get people that's humane with morals and values intact and start looking at how these individuals are earning their money on the backs of elderly people who are transitioning. They're in their glory years and just want to transition in peace. And you stressing them the hell out, exacerbating their conditions, and I'm sure stressing them the hell out, worrying them to death with this bullshit. You just need to stop. And someone needs to look into it. And that's the problem with a lot of laws and a lot of things that go on in our country, in our state, in our county, in our localities, because there is no one to hold Big Brother accountable. And that's what this is about. Accountability. That's all we need. If we talk about wrongful convictions, accountability. The same thing, our court system needs to be overhauled. You know, these lawyers and prosecutors and judges, you've thrown a lot of people in jail that should not be. And we've covered those stories. But now look at what you're doing. This is reprehensible. I am appalled that this is going on and it's swept up under the rug. At least with what goes on to the black people in America, you put that on the news, you can't turn the damn news on without seeing some of those cases, even though we haven't seen justice. But when we talk about this, I hear crickets. Where you at? You know, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Put it on the floor. Put it on the floor. Let's talk about it. I suggest that there be some accountability. I don't know where to begin. I know that you have the VIPs, the victim, your VIP group. We have the blue shirts that go and they're court watchers and stuff like that. But that's just so sad because they just throw you out or tell you to shut the hell up whenever they want to and kick you out. Now that's a shame. You can't even sit in a court. It's we the people. These people work for us. You were voted in by the people and you kick them out of the courtroom and you don't want them to listen? Wow.
I'm hoping that you're going to have a woman named, a retired Detroit public school teacher named Christina Bood. And she has got some stories for you about how she is treated as just a tax-paying, retired public school teacher going to a public courthouse and taking notes and working with the Oakland County Commissioners as a court watcher, and how she has been treated in Judge Daniel O'Brien's courtroom. She will tell you stories that will curl your hair.
Wow, 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 wow. Well, you know what? It's time for us to close. Jane, thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to tell the story of Nancy Collins, your mom, and how her wonderful life story of her American dream, getting married, having a house, having a decent income, having children, and raising them. I don't know if she had a Sears Roebuck card, but you turned her American dream.
Avenue card.
Oh, okay. Mama was jazzy. All right. So, but they turned her American dream into a nightmare, a horrific nightmare that is still going on. Her daughter can't even fully mourn the loss of her mother because we have not received closure, accountability, and jail sentences for the people who are involved. So again, thank you, Jane. We're going to close this show out. You've been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, not where I try to spill the tea or daze you like you've had a shot of cheap liquor. I just want you to see things from a different perspective. And tonight it was from the perspective of Jane Collins and the devils in the courtroom. We will see you next week. Have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe and stay healthy. So long.
Mom, Dad, maybe what I was thinking.
Thinking what?
Someday, will we have a better future?
Someday. Lately is more than enough.
Andamos en guerra, uno con otro, y todavía tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer. Pero un día, sueño que juntamos unidos como uno.
Here I am trying to understand. I can't Why can't we be happy? If love is the key to everything that we need, why can't we be happy? Someday will come. Someday will come. It will come together as one.
Some days will test my faith with adversity all in my face, but I do believe someday it will change.
Oh, just think about your life when there was no clothes to wear, little food to eat, living on the streets. Someday will come, just believe. Would you please help me? Someday will come. Yes, it will. We will come together as one.
Life is hard, but no love, we get torn apart. Why can't we be a family? Oh, together as one, we can come together as one. With unity, we can be happy. Ooh. Someday. We will come together as one. So until the day, down on bending knee. Yes,
So many hearts broken, so many confused, so many people hurting, so many abused. Tell me, how can I literally change the world when I really can't spend time with every boy and girl? I say, no more pointing fingers at the other man. If you see your brother hurting, then give him a hand. If you see a sister crying in need of an ear, then listen with compassion until her heart is clear. They say love really ain't love until you give love away. Well, here's our wake-up call, our someday.